like to call the Rutland Town School Board meeting to order. I'd like to start by having the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So under approval of the agenda, additions, deletions, and changes, I wanted to add a few things if possible. I had a request to have the 8th grade parents speak about fundraising for their Washington DC trip, so I like to put that right at the top of the agenda. And under the chair's report, there's a mini grant I wanted to discuss that I sent out through email just so that you have the information. And then under upcoming meetings and future agenda items, I know that we meant to set a date to have a kind of a social hour with the teachers. So I just wanted to start that discussion under upcoming meetings. Anyone else have any changes? Do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to the teacher, staff, and community comments, and we'll start with the 8th grade parents. Or do you want to wait for your partner?
I don't know. I was here to back up Stacy.
Okay.
Stacy's still maybe playing soccer. I'm not sure. It's my understanding that one of a parent had to come in order to. I'm like, I
got sidetracked running around with the boys.
So I don't know if there's anything official or if we just are basically asking for approval from the board to take our kids on the 8th grade field trip to DC. And
We've already started fundraising.
yeah, same as always, that we know that we have to come up with the funds in order to make sure that everything's good.
And with the board, any discussion?
And the fundraising ideas have gone through you?
Yes, every fundraiser has gone through me for approval, and parents started meeting actually this summer to plan events,
Good.
fundraising events.
Yeah.
Any motion?
Our first one's October 1st.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the fundraising that the 8th grade wishes to do for their DC trip.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Thank you. And if you don't mind signing in on your, if you're just gonna leave, you can sign on your way out.
Okay.
Kids up there. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for all your help with fundraising and supporting the trip.
And then, if you haven't signed in yet, if you don't mind, there's a little sign-in sheet at that table next to the agenda. And then I had a request by Jenna and Christy to speak.
Yeah, sure. So, William, do you want to speak? Okay. So, William wrote something that he wanted to share with all of you, and that's why we're here tonight. So, these are William's words. 5th grade students have some things that they would like to bring up. Some think they should have more of some things, and some think they should have less of some things. And some have more thoughts. Either way, I think the biggest concern is about recess. The fact that the 15 or less minutes is not working for many reasons. Number 1, students are calmer and more focused when they come inside and work. Number 2, the amount of exercise with only 15 minutes of recess or less is too short. Students need the exercise. It helps them mentally and physically. And number 3, last but not least, is the balance. 30 minutes is a good balance because of all the work that we do would even it out. Thank you. So, that's from William. And then I've just written up a few things that I wanted to say, and I get a little nervous when I speak in front of people, so if I'm a little stuttery or my face gets red, it's just the way it is. So I am William's mom. I'm also Wesley's mom. I'm Christy Murphy. Some of you may know me because I've taught yoga in the school. I also was the long-term sub-kindergarten teacher for last year. So I want to first and foremost thank all of you for all of the hard work that you do to support our school. We appreciate your hard work and dedication, and we're grateful for you. So I've emailed I emailed Marisa Kiefaber and Colby Hescock with my concerns about the length of recess time. I also then spoke with Sarah and Eric, and then also last week had a meeting with Chris Sell. All of my conversations have gone very well, and I appreciate all of the thoughts and comments and reasons for why we only have a 15-minute recess. But I'm concerned that we still only have a 15-minute recess. And I know that problems aren't solved overnight, but I'm concerned that if we don't address this soon, that the kids are going to be negatively affected. So I'm speaking on behalf of some parents and some of the students in the 5th grade class this year. And I'm also speaking on behalf of 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in Rutland Town School and in the district with regards to the topic of recess. My understanding is that at Rutland Town School, 5th grade students have 15 minutes of a scheduled recess time, and it's attached to their lunch block. This is my understanding. My son and a few other 5th graders reported that if they finish their lunch early, that they can have more time to play, which I'm sure many of them will rush through their lunch in order to be able to get outside and have recess time, because most kids really love recess. So I'm concerned about that they're eating fast, trying to get outside to have more time to play. It's also my understanding that 5th grade is sort of a part of middle school, and that some of the systems that have been put in place for 5th graders are, and correct me if I'm wrong, are things that will help them as they move on to middle school. So recess, a shortened recess being one of the ways to prepare them to handle the middle school schedule. I am concerned about this as well, because my 5th grade son is 10 years old and turned 10 in July. I'm concerned that that 5th grade seems to be a part of middle school, but that might be for another evening discussion. So, with that being said, as far as recess goes, we all know the reasons why children need to be outside playing in the fresh air and have free time. There are so many studies I could show you. There are so many studies that you could find. We feel that all children need outdoor time, free play, and opportunities to socialize with their peers, unstructured time. So I'm here not only to support the 5th grade students, but also for a longer block of recess, but I'm also here to encourage the board to extend recess for 5th through 8th grade, or to have recess at all, actually. So I have been a teacher for 10 years, and my experience in teaching elementary school kids is that students are happier and healthier and more focused on their academics when they have more time to be free to play, to socialize with their peers, and to make their own choices. We ask a lot of them throughout the day, and 30 minutes of recess, in my opinion, is just enough time to be able to be free, and that's what we're asking for this evening. We have inquired from other schools in the district and surrounding towns as to how long their recess is, and we've polled some schools who've said that 30 minutes for 5th graders, 5th and 6th graders, is what they have. They've also come up with creative ways to make that happen. I understand staffing and scheduling is an issue that was brought up to me, but our kids should not take away from their time to be kids. And that's our concern, that if they have only 15 minutes of recess, and if they don't eat fast enough, they may not even have that time. And we feel that 30 minutes should be the amount of time that kids should have in at least 5th grade, but probably older. For me, I would think it should go up. So I know there are other parents here. If I forgot to add anything, please don't hesitate to speak up. And William, if you feel I need to add anything, do you feel like?
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you, William.
So the way that our public comment works is we listen, we don't take action on it right now, but we really have to keep that in mind when we'll see on future agendas or get more information later.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments from the public? All right, moving on. We'll start with old business, second floor fire safety.
You comment on that?
Sure, do you wanna give us
Sure.
an update?
Yeah, we, when Countryside Alarm did our fire safety, we had them take a look at it and see what it would take to put bare minimum up there. We have 2 pull stations up there now, but they're recommending heat and smoke head, and we are still waiting for their quote of what it would cost.
Did they give you any idea of how long it would take to get that quote?
They did, but I'll reach back out. I gotta reach out. I'll reach back out.
Thank you. Anyone else, any questions? All right, and then board operating protocols. So last meeting, we discussed that the supervisory union board wanted to get feedback from local boards of what we thought about the VSBA's recommended operating protocols, and if we wanted to add anything regarding hybrid meeting situations, or things like that. So were there any comments from anyone here or Billy online?
Now you're talking about this,
Yes.
so it's not really one of our,
It's very similar to what we sign for,
right, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
so I don't know why we need to do both. Now, if this was to.
we're not signing it.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
they're trying to get us to commit to this individually and as a board, according to this. Now, if you want, if it wants to be a policy, we need it on something other than this.
Well, this is more discussion to bring back to the SU board.
Okay.
So they're asking, is there anything else you want added? Is there anything you want taken out? As,
I don't have time for that, but, no, I mean, Vermont, the state of Vermont itself is, yeah, they're taking too much control away from local boards. And if you read down through this and you do every single thing it says here, we're just gonna sit here and say yes, 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 yes. There are gonna be situations that they don't wanna happen. I think when we agreed to the morals and ethics clause, we more than agreed to all of this as it is. So I personally, it just smacks me wrong when it just says, let's do what the Vermont School Board says.
it is pretty close to what we already do.
Right.
But I think what was brought up was the fact that now we have had hybrid meetings and remote meetings, and that there's a lot of variability in how members present themselves that way. So one thing that I was thinking about adding is that when meeting virtually, it is expected that board members have their cameras on as much as feasible.
I agree with that,
So
totally.
that would be one thing I would add. And the other thing that was kind of brought up as one of the reasons for this was when in executive sessions, when they are held remotely, it's expected that board members are in a location where others cannot hear the conversation.
Right, and some of them, it's very difficult to do that because they're remote, but I understand.
Right, and so that's kind of just guiding members to try to follow that.
As long as it's in our paperwork and not theirs.
Right, and I think that that's what the goal is to have it approved by the SU board to make it ours, so that we're all on the same page. Okay, potentially, if I understand correctly. Is that
I mean,
correct?
you're not asking us to, as when we get together with Proxy.
This is for March. We're
Right,
looking to
so,
update this for March.
As Tina said, that it was more to be presented to the boards for discussion to see which of these you like, you don't like, what your thoughts are. Then in March, we would look to explore, just with it, we're going to do our rework, that this would be a part of this, that if we're doing like Robert's rules, we'd also adopt these protocols. And I think there were concerns around hybrid, particularly since boards have expressed interest in maintaining a hybrid, but that they, confidentiality of executive session was a concern. Because there have been past where you have had family members walking by or someone else, and so we just, how do we tighten that up? We've had board members, not here, but in other districts where they've been shopping, and they've been, participating while they've been, toilet papers behind them, or, they're in the middle of the checkout line, and that's, so I think it's just in terms of we have to make sure that we really, when we're in the meeting, we're focused. I think the public deserves that
Correct.
a board member is focused on the meeting, and when they're voting on something, that they're fully focused on that item that they're voting on. They're not, yeah, I think that's really part of the discussion, was just around that.
I mean, I think they're great, I think almost all of them are understandable. It's things that I think new board members learn through the new school board members packet. So I don't know how, I guess I don't know, they want to make it policy or what? I'll wait until March and see what comes out. It's not that I disagree with these things, I totally do, but I don't know how black and white odd writing on paper that we want to mandate.
Thank you. Last agenda. So next, new business, the VSBIT voting member.
Sure. So we have done this at the GRCSU board. We've also done our local districts, but we have the VSBA, VSA annual meetings coming up in a couple weeks in October, 20th, 21st. That's held in Lake Maury, and I do believe it's October 21st at 9 o'clock. VSBIT holds their annual meeting, and so what Rutland Town needs to do is either elect a voting member, so if someone's going to be there in person, then that person would be elected as a voting member on behalf of this board. If no one will be attending, then we'd have to just elect a vote by proxy, just that the VSBIT board would vote on our behalf. So we just need a motion from this board, either to elect someone who will be in attendance in person, or just to vote by proxy, and Tina has the paperwork to fill out either way, so.
So I am planning to go, but I have to drop my daughter off before I get there, so I don't know if I'll get there by 9 on that day. Is that the Thursday? Oh, no, that's the Friday. I'll be there.
Okay.
So I need to be nominated? Is that
I will nominate Tina to be our voter.
Okay, so I'll fill it out and I give it to you, or do I
We
send
can
it?
do one of two things. We can send it back, or you can bring it with them to the meeting. We've been sending them back individually, so I can take that back tonight.
Okay, thanks. And,
I'll make a motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Aye.
Next up is the pre-K needs assessment. So what we have discussed at our board retreat is the fact that there's quite a long waiting list on the pre-K side. And trying to figure out how we can work through that. What are our options? What makes sense? One thing that we had mentioned as a possibility would be having one class that's full day and one class that's half morning, half afternoon, so that we could have more students. Yes, it would only be half a day, but some families like that. They don't want the full day. As a possibility, or just trying to see what makes most sense. So we just wanted to kind of maybe either start the discussion, or if you already had some ideas, we could discuss some of that tonight.
I think I would probably reach out to Angela Hayes. She's our new early childhood coordinator for the district, because she knows where our other families are from our pre-K partnership programs.
So it's not just, I just want to reiterate, it's not just Rutland Town parents.
It's Rutland Town parents, but they may not they don't send their child necessarily. It's like we can survey those that send their child to Rutland Town preschool, but the universal pre-K is that we're obligated to pay for 10 hours of preschool for 2 years for each child. So either they go here, or that money goes directly towards those programs. We don't pay those families. That money goes directly towards, let's say, Little Lambs or Grace.
I guess my question is, though, we keep saying we have this long waiting list.
Mhm.
Are they all Rutland Town
Yes.
children?
Yes.
So how come we have so many for pre-K, but they don't show up for kindergarten?
Sometimes they move. sometimes, but we do, it's by age. So we have approximately 30 students on the wait list.
Okay, but we're not getting 30 students in kindergarten.
Right, because
So
they're
that's a wait
3
list, so
to
you've got-
5-year-olds.
You've got 30, so you've got 60 children that want to be in pre-K.
30, about 30,
Well, you said you have a waiting list of 30.
correct.
So how many are already in class?
A little over 25,
Okay,
but
so we
those,
have 55.
but those students range from 3 to 5 years old, depending on the birthday. So some of them just turned 5 a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
Some of them are 3 years old already.
So not all of them would move on to kindergarten.
Correct.
Right, I understand that. But why are we, I thought we started taking, back when we first started, we started taking the 3-year-olds to help fill the classes. I thought 4 and 5-year-olds were our priority for kindergarten. And now we're including age 3.
So that's a great question. So we go by age first. So for sign up, it's not first come, first serve. It's if you have a disability,
Mm-hmm.
then your child automatically has a spot.
Right, but is
Um,
that 4th
then-
and 5th?
That's for
4-year-olds?
3 to 5-year-old. Yep. So if they have a disability, we need to make sure that we provide them services, so they have a spot.
Okay,
Then it goes by age, by birth date. So
Okay.
then it's those that are the oldest. So we have a list of a lot of young kids.
okay, so the 3-year-olds that are on the waiting list
Mm-hmm.
were pretty much the ones that have disabilities?
No, the students with disabilities have a spot.
Okay.
Yes, so they have a spot. And then it goes by birth date. So I have a family that moved here that actually has a 4-year-old. So they're now at the top of the wait list because there were other kids that were younger that were at the top. But as we get students that enroll, it goes by birth date, if that makes sense.
Okay, so out of the 30 you say we have waiting,
Mm-hmm.
how many are 5 years old, 4 years old?
I can tell you in a few minutes.
Okay, I'm just wondering.
What's that?
I don't think any.
Yes, we have a family that moved
That are fine.
that are, I'd have to check their birth date.
Maybe if it just.
Right.
I mean, I'm just trying to, because we've gone over this numerous times, and I understand if we had room, 3-year-olds, which, you know, it depends on who you speak to, whether that's too young, but if the waiting list is all 3-year-olds, I'm not as concerned. You know
Yet
what I'm
we
saying?
still are responsible for 10 hours a week for those
Right,
3 years old.
right, but I'm saying
So that's
to
what
get
we're
them in.
saying, if we, opened up so that we had 2 half classes, we could.
Oh, I agree, I think we should have 4 half classes, and then maybe we could get them all, at least part of the day.
I think that's, some parents have chosen not, I've called a few parents that were able to get a spot, and they said, since you don't have after-school care, I'm gonna send them somewhere else. And we looked at that before we went to full day, and at that time, it was probably 4 years ago now, parents were asking for a full-day program. That's why we
Right.
we weren't.
I
we
know
did-
it was Aaron's huge thing to go from, because we were part-time right along.
Yep.
And then we went to full-time because Aaron Boynton had pushed full-time, have to have full-time.
Mhm.
And then we broke it down on how many breaks we have, what lunchtime is, what nap time is. And it actually, while they might be here full day, half day actually got as much hands-on as full-time because of the breaks and the nap. And, so I'm not saying that half-time is as good as full-time. I'm just saying that if we have children out there that can't get in anywhere, we need to have them. Those are the kids we need to serve. And, I mean, just to be on, and don't get me wrong, my own family has used pre-K in other places. So I fully understand the importance and the difference it makes when they hit kindergarten.
Mhm.
But like I said, if our wait list has 4 or 5-year-olds on it, that's bad, really bad. If they're 3-year-olds, I'm not as concerned. Because they still have time to get in and have a year or 2 of pre-K with us.
Mhm. And some of them, that's just due to moving here later or
Right.
not registering their child.
Well, yeah, I know, we always get those, but.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I can, again, it goes by birth date.
Mhm.
So, what I can do is reach out to Angela Hayes just to get an idea of those families that are on the wait list, who would prefer, is that what you're asking, not the students that are currently enrolled, but of those that are all on the wait list?
Right.
What would be their preference?
Right. I mean,
Either
do we
full day,
have-
half day, AM or PM?
Right, or do we have some that, and I realize once, because they come in late, we could have said, well, we're taking Johnny, I know he's late, but we're taking him, and Susie's gotta leave because she's only 3. I understand that,
Yeah.
I can't do that. But I'm trying to, because all we hear year after year is, we have a huge waiting list. Okay, well, if they're all 3-year-olds, I'm not as concerned, it's not, don't get me wrong, it's not as big a deal as if they're all 4 or 5 years old.
So the other thing to keep in mind too is what are our costs if we're paying out of the school for all those 3-year-olds? Would it make more sense to do half-day classes? Would it save us money? So that's another thing.
Well, we have to
look
pay
at.
for the 10 hours regardless.
Right, but if we're paying it here,
It's also if the parents, what we ran into when we did this years ago was that some of working parents can't leave in the middle of the day to bring their child to school. And when we surveyed them, it was some of them that did still nap, afternoon did not work. So, and then we were finding of those during half day, those students didn't necessarily need preschool. It was from some of those working families, kids needed transportation.
Right.
Those were the kids that we were missing. So we had a lovely half-day preschool program, but it wasn't those kids that really needed services.
So we would have to have 2 more full classrooms
Well, that would be to accommodate the
to
3-year-olds.
service
The 3-year-olds.
the
The
3
wait
and
list.
4s, yeah.
And
The
we
waiting.
do have some 3-year-olds in preschool. Again, I don't want to identify
No.
certain children, but just say again, we have to serve those kids with special needs first, and
Well,
then
that
it all
is the
goes by
most
age.
important, because that's the difference we make before they get to kindergarten.
Right.
I'm fully behind that. Age doesn't matter for that group.
Okay, and then it's by age, and you're right. I had a family that registered their child a day before school started, and their preschooler's 4.
Oh, understand.
So we don't, yeah.
Right.
Childcare is tough, preschool is tough.
It is very
To
tough, and it's
find.
tough to find it outside if you don't make it in here. I understand, and there too. But people out in Rutland Town community, when they listen to this or whatever, it's like we're not taking care of our preschool children. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are.
Well,
I mean, when it was originally started, it was 4 and 5-year-olds, and then we could backfill with 3-year-olds.
That's what we do now.
And, well, so, but when you say we have 30 students
Mhm.
on the waiting list,
Mhm.
if they're 3 years old, we really don't. I mean, they're on a list, but it's not I guess it doesn't matter. I don't need an answer tonight.
Okay, and I will say that Rutland Northeast did reach out to me this summer. They are looking to mirror our program because they have half-day and they're finding that they're not reaching all of their students. As we experienced showing up on the first day, some kids aren't potty trained, some kids can read. So the goal again is to provide those early services to all kids so they can be successful when they enter kindergarten. So I do have a meeting with the principal of Barstow and a couple other individuals so they can see what our preschool is like.
will you have that before our next meeting?
Oh yeah, I can provide, so you just want a list of how many students are on the wait list, their ages, and then I will ask Angela Hayes to help survey those that we're paying for to go elsewhere to see if they would prefer a full day, a morning, or an afternoon, correct? Is that what the board is asking?
I didn't even go that far.
I think it would be interesting, even the students that we have now, to know, do they prefer the full day versus if they had the choice of a half day, would they prefer that?
Okay.
Just to get that information too.
I mean, every time we usually bring it up, it's, well, we meet upstairs because we haven't got room for the pre.
Yeah.
Okay, that's at least 3 years, 3 to
I
5
know.
years away.
It's a dream
So
zone.
let's stop
I can
saying-
dream when that-
Yeah, no, I understand, but if you're a taxpayer out there.
Right,
You
right.
keep thinking that we don't have room for our own students, and that's not necessarily true.
It's a good problem
Everyone
to
would
have,
like
I
a
will
bigger,
say.
everyone would like a bigger house. I understand that.
So,
Yeah.
so basically, we're trying to find out if there's a way that we could serve more students in
Yeah.
our school.
Yep, okay.
potentially.
So just so I'm clear, you would like me to survey our current preschool student parents,
Right.
as well as those on the wait list, and ask them if they would prefer a half day in the morning, a half day in the afternoon, or a full day, and then also provide the board with information on how, the ages of those students on the wait list.
And also what the other preschool programs look like locally. So you're having that meeting with Barstow and,
Well, they wanted to reach out,
so what's working for them, what's not working?
Oh,
So
I
obviously something's not working.
yeah,
But it would be good to know, are they looking to go to full day
Full
for
day.
everybody?
Yep.
Or full day for some?
full
Or
day
they-
for everyone.
You know, the majority, I think, and this is just my assumption, is full day is easier because the child is here, they don't have to worry about it until 3 o'clock. Whereas half day, then they do have to come up and get the child or bring the
They
child.
have to do pick up and drop off.
And
on
I
their own.
understand that. And that's difficult for working families, been that way since children were born,
Mhm.
okay, forever. So, I don't know, but what we just need to know is, would you use a half day if it was offered? Or, full day? Because I think if we just go out, what would you prefer? It's gonna be full day, because then their child's here, they don't, babysitting or whatever. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that our preschool is a babysitting
No,
service.
yeah.
It is not. They learn, we've had huge successes of where we have really made a difference in these child's lives before they hit kindergarten. But, yeah, I just think we need, instead of just saying we've got 30 kids on a waiting list, we need more room, we have to look to see what the data is behind it.
Okay. And I would need Angela's help because I don't have a list on
Yeah.
which students go to which
I would like to
preschools.
see what the cost would be to do 2 more classrooms.
Lewis?
So.
Well, we don't
Okay.
need that tonight.
No, no, no.
I'm just,
Yeah.
Well, it's just
I'll just.
put it all together.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done. I just hope that the board, puts, it's not a rash decision, one way or another. I think that, having been in education 29 years, I think it's one where, I think the board needs to think about what is the goal of, this exploration. If it's really to look at how to best reach all of our pre-K students and how to best service those families, I think there's a lot of community outreach we need to do. There's a lot of community input. We're going to have to look at cost analysis to provide that, because we're looking to do budgets. So there are things with Lewis, myself, and Sarah and Eric can work on behind the scenes in terms of, and Lewis and I have talked in other buildings about, looking at, bringing in modulars to accommodate the additional students, because we do have in sort of other buildings where they are run out of space as well. So we'd have to, there's just a lot of scenarios to work for. So I think it's just, we can do some back end research, but I think I just want to also just, we're exploring this, and because I think my concerns parents are going to see this. Some may all of a sudden like we're losing a full day pre-K or we're going to half day. I think the goal of the board right now is just to take a look at. We have a good amount of our students right now who are accessing our pre-K. We have 30 students or 30 families who are not able to access, and so we're looking at ways in which we can provide access for those students as well, without just saying, no, sorry, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, because I also want to know, because like I said, we didn't include 3-year-olds, now we are. And that's majority of, like you said, the ones that are on the waiting list. When we
majority-
had 4 and 5th, we didn't have a waiting list, 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, sorry. And we didn't have a waiting list. And if we had vacancies, we would bring in 3-year-olds.
That's what we do now.
Right, but you just told me though that except for that one child, the rest
Yep,
are
I have a couple of
3-year-olds.
4-year-olds on the wait list. I know one of them that's now 5 has said that they need before and after school care, so they're paying privately.
But we will, at home or?
No,
in-
they're at a program,
Okay, well, we pay that program
Mhm.
though.
10
Okay.
hours a week per child.
Okay, so they're not really, while I'm saying
They're not in the building.
They're not in the building, but they are getting
Correct.
preschool.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so there's a big difference.
I would also like to know how many of those students are not accessing because they couldn't find anything that worked or?
Yeah, there was another family that I spoke to that had since moved that was sending their child to in-home childcare that was not, we were not paying. Again, it was due to parents' work schedule. So the majority of the kids are 4 and 5-year-olds.
Mhm.
There are some 3, and again, we serve those with special needs, and then it
See, the
goes by
special
birthday.
needs, I don't need to
Okay.
know their ages, because those are the that's why I think this whole program got started to begin with, was to make sure we caught those students
Mm-hmm.
to bring them up through.
Lewis, did you have something to add?
Sure, I can add a few pieces of information. So last year, we paid for approximately 10 students in Rutland Town to attend private programs. I'm not sure if those 10 kids are also kids that are on your waiting list, but about 10 kids. The cost per pupil for pre-K, if we pay a private program or another public program, is approximately $3,600. So for the amount of kids that you would fit in 1 year classroom, the cost would be about $54,000 to send those same students to a private program. The cost to have a new classroom in your building would probably be about $130,000 to $150,000, depending on the staff members that you got.
Right.
So it is a alternative that is less expensive if you don't have the capacity in your buildings. Staffing is also an issue, finding staffing. So, I mean, it is an option that does affect your budget in a positive way.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Okay, so you would like me to survey all those families that are currently on the wait list as well as those that are enrolled in our preschool program, right? To ask them full day, half day, morning or afternoon, what
If they
prefer.
had their druthers.
Right,
I don't think, I don't know if it's necessary to say morning or afternoon, I think half day
Or full day.
or full day.
okay, just half day or full day. Well, you were talking about having a morning program and an afternoon program.
Right,
Two half days.
Yeah.
For one teacher, and then the other is full-time, so.
Right, but we would have to see, because I know a lot of families, we had a shared preschool teacher that was here and they drove to another school in the afternoon and those numbers were a lot less due to the nap in the afternoon.
Right.
So, you don't want me to ask that?
One model that the schools used to use is doing like 4-year-olds 3 full days and 3-year-olds 2 full days. This way they're still getting full days, they don't have to transport in the middle of the day, but you're still getting the double the amount of classes.
That's right, too, I forgot we did.
Okay, so I can ask about half day or partial weekdays.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Right, thank you.
and then you wanted information on where did you say where we pay for other preschools?
Well, he
Like
just
those
kind of
programs?
gave us that
Okay,
information.
okay.
And I think the 130,000 for a new room would be a whole new room. I think that if we were doing partial days like we just suggested, or if we're doing one, I think the cost would go down because we would have the same amount of classrooms that we have now,
Right.
right?
It's just, it's about, I would assume, Louis, you
Potentially.
right, it would be 130 would be like it for the teachers.
And then-
So
That would be a full day program, 5 days a week. That would be for a teacher and for a paraeducator, plus the costs for that room.
Right.
But if we kept the amount of teachers and space right now, then we would be saving money because we wouldn't be paying 54,000 potentially out of here.
So, do you mean if you're freeing up teachers that you already have,
Right.
then yes, you wouldn't have that cost increase,
So we
correct?
would maybe save 50,000 if we figured something different out, potentially.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, if you were utilizing your current teachers, yes.
Thank you.
Ages too,
Break it out on ages. Is that what it's-
Yeah, I mean, we'll ask them the age of their child, yeah, we'll be able to see that, yeah.
So next up is the Spanish instruction discussion. So I had brought this up because when I was looking at high schools and visiting some schools, one of the schools had mentioned to me that students from Rutland Town, when they go to their school, they have to be put in Spanish 1, even though these students have had Spanish their entire student career. So my intent with starting a discussion was just to kind of look critically at the way we deliver Spanish and see if there's a way that we could, are we doing enough? Is there something else we can do that we could do more? And just kind of start a discussion about that. And I know that you had looked into some of the local high schools and got some feedback, so just wanted the whole board to hear it.
Sure, so I asked Kate Daly, our school counselor, to contact the guidance offices at some local schools this spring, some popular schools that our kids go to, just to get feedback from Spanish, and it varies. I've talked to kids directly myself, because they'll usually tell you. Some of them said, well, it didn't fit in my schedule. I took Spanish 1 because I play sports. It's only offered E-block, so it's fine if I miss that. But Rutland High School, where a lot of our students go, it looks like through the last few years we've had an increase of students taking Spanish 2 honors. So I think that's pretty telling.
That's in 9th grade?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just
so-
want to make sure, yeah.
Yeah, so the last few years, they've had an increase of students taking Spanish 2 honors, and they said they've done really well. Another school said, more smaller private school said, a couple of kids decided to take Spanish 1 again because it was the end of the day, due to doing sports, and some of them have taken other languages. And I didn't hear back from the school that you, Kate had reached out to them twice and we haven't heard back. So, but I wouldn't say we have a lot of students that attend that school every year. So that's the information I have. And I know that we're blessed to have Teresa Sunderland as our pre-K through 7th grade Spanish teacher. She's been started just when COVID.
You got it.
Yeah, just when COVID started. And prior to that, our other Spanish teacher was out on leave quite a bit. So I'm happy that we've had a consistent teacher. And Peter Patterson, our 8th grade Spanish teacher, has joined us as well, because I am.
Yep, I'm here.
I am not a language expert at all. So
I'm just curious. So you teach pre-K through 7th,
Correct.
right? I guess I'm curious if you think that, if that's the only way that you would do it if you had your druthers, because I know that's kind of how it was when you came in. Do you wish you had more time with some of the older grades? Do you wish they had, like, different instruction? Because you kind of took over from someone else's
Correct.
teaching. So I was just curious what you think.
Well, let me go back to your question, when you said you want to critically look at how we're delivering instruction. Is it the how we're delivering instruction, or is it how often we offer it at RTS? Because those are two different questions, so I just want to be sure that I understand what we're looking at. Because how us Spanish teachers deliver it is very different. I mean, we can be immersed in do the language, which is completely different than more of a direct instruction teaching from a book. So
I think
just
I
wanted to be
was
sure.
looking more at it time-wise,
Okay.
because my kid, I have 4 kids. 2 of them have gone through from kindergarten through 8th grade already, and I believe they started Spanish when my oldest was in kindergarten, and they would get a half an hour once a week for year after year, it seemed. I don't know when it increased, but they felt like, from their perspective, that it was a lot of the same repetition. They didn't get a lot because they didn't have a lot of repetition that week, I guess. So every year it felt like they were doing the same thing for a little while until maybe 5th grade or something when it increased. I don't know. My curiosity is, if you had more time to teach the older grades when they're a little older and more into learning to, reading to learn versus learning to read, that kind of thing, would that improve for them when they get to 8th grade and Peter does the immersive style, would they be more comfortable with that? Would that help them? Those are the type of things I'm curious about, pre-K, kindergarten first, using other resources versus your time to introduce Spanish kind of thing, to free up some of your time so that you could spend more time later on.
Well, it's a loaded question. I will try to address. So currently now, for those of you who aren't aware, we have 42 minutes with pre-K through 4th grade, once a week for the 42 minutes. When it gets to new this year is 5th grade, I see them 3 days a week. 1 week, the following week is 2 days, which follows the 6th and 7th and 8th grade kind of procedures or scheduling allotments. So the 5th grade now will have more Spanish than they had previously had, which is awesome. So would I like more time with them? Yes, I would like more time with all of the students. I know that there is only a certain amount of time in their day and my day. So yes, more time with them would be great. If you say I'm going to take it away from the younger kids, I'm not sure I would say yes. Because the kids are a sponge. They soak it in. They're excited. They love it. My second graders, 3rd graders, last week said, Mrs. Sunderland, are you going to do that thing again where you speak all in Spanish and no English? I said, absolutely. My 7th graders don't ask that.
No.
They're young, they want to learn, they soak it up, they get it, their pronunciation is better, their accents are better. So they just have a love of learning that, the kids tend to go, 7th grade, middle school, and they've kind of already slowly losing their flair, and they start to go towards what they really love, at that point. So yes, I would love more time with the students. But I don't know for Rutland Town students, I don't know if I would give up the time with the little kids either, because that is valuable in a language. All the statistics
True.
will show you the younger the better.
Right.
And I agree with you. I'm just curious, a half an hour or 40-minute YouTube or, there's other ways to deliver language instruction so that you physically necessarily wouldn't be in that room, so you had more space. Different program and that type of thing.
But finding the time in the block might be difficult.
That might be hard too.
I know when we first started, it was all upper grades. And it took us a lot of years when we finally got it down so it was K through 8. There was a period of time where, and we usually use Rutland High School as the barometer because the majority of our students go there. And there was a period of time where anyone coming from 8th grade going into 9th at Rutland had to go to Spanish 1 because they were not ready for Spanish 2. So you made my day by saying most of them are, or some are going into 2 by their own choice. If they don't, it's their choice not to, but they are succeeding. So it means to me that we have built a better program. I think, Tina, I fully understand any subject, if you have more time, it's going to be better. Yeah, I definitely agree that kindergarten, that if they get that start, and I realize it's not a whole lot of time, but with a little one that, like you said, they're sponges, makes a world of difference when they get older. This was a huge thing because we used to offer more than one language, and Spanish was not one of them. So, but the world or our area seemed to be concentrating on Spanish, and that's when we dropped the French. And I think we went mainly for French for quite a few years because we're so close to Canada. But you have to go by what the real world is. So I'm glad to see that it's the way we have it right now is working. Can we make it better? I'm sure we can, but I don't know if we could fit it in the block schedules.
Well, like you said, you just increased the amount of time for 5th. Is that for 5th and 6th grade that they have more?
5th grade now matches the 6th and 7th grade
So that's
time.
already a little extra too, so
Yeah, correct.
that could be helpful. Linda, you had a question or a comment? comment?
Yeah, hi, I'm so glad to be able to listen in. So, I know we're so lucky to have a language in the Spanish. It's so wonderful. I think it's worth saying that from the curriculum work I was able to do during the summer and last spring, we talked about world languages, and correct me if I'm wrong, Peter or Teresa, and there's, when the kids are learning it, it's introductory all through elementary school and into middle school until the school, then it can be a more advanced study. So if, with that in mind, you know, it might help us to digest what we're really focusing on. And it is the introductory. We always want them to have more, but, you know, to build on what we're doing is, I think, fine. So anyway, that's my input. I couldn't resist adding that because I think it's worth thinking about. You know, it's an introductory level all through 8th grade. Okay?
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what
thank
we've
you.
done with, work with our, through the GRCSU PLC groups, we started looking at the whole program and calculating the number of hours that it takes a student to reach a novice low. Foreign languages work a little bit differently because, you know, math, you can go through a certain level and then, okay, you're ready for level 2. Okay, science, you've gone through earth science, now you can go to this science. But language is a little bit different because you need contact time with the language. So, you know, you can go through Spanish 1, but if you don't have 135 hours, I'd have to look at the actual hours, but if you don't go through the number of hours in the language, then you're really not able to go to the next level as far as the guidelines for the number of hours that you need. So, so when Linda says, you know, we start with the introductory, so my goal over the past year and a half has been to identify, you know, where are we at with the language, what topics, you know, have we been covering, and so for the past 3 years, I've been tracking, this is what I've been doing in the program, and so I'm running the kids on a 2-year rotation where pre-KK is running similar words at more or less the same level because that's what they're capable of. And then 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then 5, obviously 5, 6, and 7 is significantly different. So up until 4th grade, they're gonna run in that rotation academically in that curriculum with that vocabulary for 2 years as a introduce and then review. And then year 3 with that class, then I go back to the, you know, the first year round of curriculum, so that it does keep it fresh and it's not, okay, back to weather, okay, back to, now you're gonna have basics. We want the kids to learn the, you know, hello, how are you, colors and all that, but then we get into, you know, winter vocabulary and, you know, I don't know, I'm blanking because I'm on the spot. But I try to keep it fresh and offer different vocabulary themes that the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade aren't going to have, so that when they get to 5th grade, I can say, oh, wait a minute, we did a winter unit, and so it's not rehashing, you know, okay, yep, year 6, same thing, here we go. But when we get into 5th, 6th, 7th, and then Peter can attest to the 8th, because most of our students enter Rutland High School, we have consulted with Rutland High School in the past, and Peter has done a little bit more than I have, though I would love to become closer and gap that relationship that we have with them. We prep our Rutland Town students to match what Rutland High School will do, since the majority of our students are going there. So when they go to other schools, they might see a gap. You know, no, we do not cover every single, you know, subject area, vocabulary, grammar that other schools might, because the curriculums don't match up, and then you add in, it's a different way of teaching, and if at one school they, you know, do a fully immersion and they have a native speaker, then that teacher is going to focus on something completely different than, you know, a Rutland High School curriculum would do. And so we've tried to optimize the relationship we have with Rutland High School, because the majority of our students go there. And, you know, I mean, honestly, I was pleasantly surprised with the numbers that Rutland High School sent over. You know, because out of the 11, 15, and 16 Rutland Town students that have gone on to Spanish 2, which is our concern, that's our goal. Peter and I are working to get them to Spanish 2. So yes, they're continuing, which is, I don't know, I feel that all of us who have been in the Spanish program, we're doing our thing. We're creating enthusiasm and interest, and they're not running away from the language, and they want to continue taking it, but they're also scoring quite well. Out of 11 freshmen in one class, we had 9 taking Spanish 2, 6 of them were honors, and 8 of those scored 3 or higher at the high school level in an honors class. Another year it's 15 continued the language, 12. We had 12 in Spanish 2, 5 of them were honors, 10 were at 2.7 and above. So they're not just taking it, that is a solid meeting proficiency and exceeding. We had 3.7s, we had 4.0s. And they test not just to Spanish, but to our Rutland Town students of how they're doing in high school. And the same thing. We had 11 students in the third group that scored 2.5 and above. So I think all of us who've been involved, I think we are meeting our mark, but yes, I would love to, teach more of those kids so they can feel more prepared at other schools too. But I just don't know, you would know scheduling wise.
It's not easy.
Right.
Can we possibly steal any more minutes from the schedule to allow for
I have
more
an answer,
contact
but it's not
time?
gonna be good, it's not gonna be the one that you wanna do.
Kelly, he's Texas good. Just have it.
Something new.
I don't know if Peter has anything.
Linda, did you have something else to say?
No, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
I put my hand down again,
And
thanks
Pe-
for reminding me.
No problem. Peter, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to say, last year, what with the pandemic and everything, last year, the consensus, the kids in 8th grade, because I always do a review, because I want them to know it, so they feel really confident when they go into 9th grade to go into Spanish 2. The vast majority of the kids in 8th grade last year wanted me to reteach everything. They did not feel confident at all due to the pandemic, whatever. This year, I will say that the 8th grade, thanks to Teresa, the pronunciation is great. We're moving right along really quick with the review, so I'm feeling much more confident. To answer Lynette, it's been, as you've all said, we feed into Rutland High School the vast majority of our students, and we tried over the years to get the same curriculum that they were doing. We bought this book called Ya Verás, they changed. We got the new book, they changed. And now we're on the same book, and so these kids, as Lynette, as you said, they would leave Rutland Town, but it was a new book, a new school, and a new teacher. And Rutland High School used to offer Spanish 1 honors. They flocked to Spanish 1 honors. A+++, looks great in their transcript. Now, it's so nice to see these figures. Now, I recommend the vast majority for Spanish 2, either prep or honors. Very few are doing Spanish 1. So it's good news. But that's the history in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of your effort and time for tonight. So thank you for coming in. And it sounds like we're doing very well. So
Yeah.
I feel
Making a
better.
difference.
And the kids are, if you ask the students themselves, they'll tell you, like, I just wanted to get an A.
That's
Last block, I couldn't fit it in, or I wanted to take psychology. This is, sometimes it really is scheduling. And some are like, I wanted to take German. So it varies. Some kids are very strong, some kids want to try something different. I spoke to a couple of boys a couple weeks ago that are in Stafford. They weren't able to squeeze it in. So I think there's a lot to it.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else have any questions before we move on?
I don't.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up is the yearbook stipend. I brought this up because prior to 2 years ago, the yearbook was, at least from my knowledge, was run by parents, volunteers. 2 years ago, we had 2 teachers that joined together and said that they would take it over, and I really appreciated that. It made, first of all, the yearbook happen. Secondly, the parents were busy fundraising for the DC trip and doing sports and this and that, and taking the yearbook off of their radar was very helpful. One of those teachers left and moved somewhere else, and so this past year, there was one teacher that was doing it by herself. And again, she got it done, all the 8th graders had a yearbook, parents did not have to do it. What I realized through last year, I never saw a stipend or a contract recommendation for that. And I do feel that the yearbook takes a lot of time as much as other clubs that we are paying stipends for. So I wanted to bring that up to have a discussion and maybe take action on for not only approving it for this year potentially, but also for retroactively doing it for at least last year. And they did it
We
by
don't
themselves.
usually get into retro for various reasons, but one specifically. But I believe in our contract, Sarah can say and allocate a stipend for that, if they feel that. Just like sometimes we have cheerleading, sometimes we don't, sometimes we have this, sometimes we don't. But it may not specifically say yearbook, but I believe the principal has unilateral.
I think it was just up for discussion, because past practice, it's always been volunteers.
Right.
So the teachers here was like, I am not doing this again, I've spent thousands of hours the past 2 years. So I said, well, if there's a stipend, would you be interested? And they said, well, yes, but I don't know what that stipend would be. So I would need to hear
Just,
from the board.
I'd have to see the list, or you could see the list and see who gets paid what for different things.
It's different, I think when I looked at the contract for different schools, they have allocated different amounts.
I'm just talking about Rutland Town schedule.
For Rutland Town, the master agreement has clubs, it says board approved clubs would be $250.
And I have no problem with that.
What about retroactively doing it for last year because it was missed? Is that a possibility or is it too muddy?
I mean, that's a board decision, the books are closed, so it would be a this year expense.
I don't, personally, I don't want to, not that they don't deserve it, but it is last year, books are closed. Okay, now you brought it up brought to our attention, I think yes, from now on, because we don't have the volunteers, we should have a stipend, is no problem. But it would be up to Sarah to recommend, I mean, clubs are $250, we have different levels of stuff, whatever, to bring to us and say,
The yearbook for other schools are significantly more, so I'm
no, I
not
know
su-
that,
yeah.
but that's why I'm not looking at other schools, I'm looking at Rutland Town.
So that's what it says in the contract, 250 for approved clubs, so I
Okay,
need to.
and that
come-
other club from last year, they each got $250, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. So I mean, while the board has to approve it, we usually approve it under contracts that come forward.
So we could do that
Next meeting, yep.
Okay, for 250.
I just have a quick question on that. I guess I would challenge is, would yearbook be considered a club? Because that is.
If we have
it's a-
students involved.
I guess my challenge is
It wasn't,
it's
yeah.
significantly more time
That's what I was trying to
and
say.
work level than a club. Not to say clubs don't
So
work,
it's more
but
like
Right.
a yearbook is a
Stipend
gigantic.
position, that's what I was trying to say.
Which is no problem, but like I said, it's up to Sarah to look at that and tell us
Yeah.
whether it's
So can you bring
250 or
that for next
500 to bring it
meeting?
forward to
Yeah,
us.
I already have a teacher that's willing to do it, but I needed board approval, and it wouldn't be, it would be a stipend position, so I need to know
So
what
we
to
can
fill out.
discuss that in executive session.
I want something brought forward. I don't want
Right.
us to arbitrarily set
Right.
a dollar amount, because then we're gonna run into trouble with all the other stipends we already have. So I don't wanna tread on that. I mean, next meeting, if you wanna bring us your recommendation as far as the stipend goes for that, based on the number of hours, great. And then we can make that decision. I mean, I'm not against paying, but I don't think this board should sit here and arbitrarily pick up stipend amount.
And next up.
When would the yearbook start the process?
Soon,
2 weeks ago.
Well,
Yeah,
at least they know they're gonna get something. They just
well, I
don't know
do think
what yet.
teachers have, and they're just like, I'm not doing that again, because it's hours of time and just,
Oh, I.
But is it more than just one teacher, or you got?
no, one teacher has
Just
offered
one
to do
teacher,
it. And she
nobody
did
else
it last,
wants to?
she did it last year, because no parent volunteered to do it, and her and another teacher the year before, because no parent volunteered.
Proofreading it alone has to hold quite a bit of value.
Yes, there's some entertaining statements in there.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So if you could come back with that next meeting.
Sure.
Thank you, I know you didn't need something else on you.
No, it's fine.
And then the next on the agenda is to discuss drama offerings, programs, productions at Rutland Town School.
Mhm.
I think they're kind of somewhat in the same boat.
Mhm.
So I'm curious.
Yeah, so, but prior to the pandemic, Kelly McGee and Beth McReynolds, our previous art teacher, were preparing for the Lion King production. Apparently, there was never a stipend that went through central office. So when everything shut down in March, those individuals were never paid. And I was, this was brought to my attention last week. So I did ask Kelly McGee if he would be willing to do another theater production. And he's absolutely willing. He's been, another school has contacted him and they're contracting out with him for a significant more money than it would be for a club. And he said he'd be willing to do it for Rutland Town School. He would love to do it here, but just the amount of time that, goes into that is a lot. The practice, the costumes, and Aaron Audette was, gratefully said, I'll do the sound for free. It was an amazing, Seussical was amazing for everybody that watched it. K through 8, we were excited to have Lion King come, but unfortunately the world stopped in March. So
We should be all ready for Lion King then.
I know.
Right.
It's been a couple of years. So,
Exactly.
again, I can't fill out a stipend form if I don't know what the amount is, and that, I do know that the other school is paying Kelly over $2,000 for a stipend,
From
so.
what
Sarah,
I
could-
heard was that.
So this is through, Kelly has a group, an outside group, correct? It's not just Kelly?
So
just doing
Kelly
it.
would do it himself for a
Right.
stipend, but he has a theater company
So
called.
that's my understanding, is this
Yep.
other school is contracted with Kelly and the theater company to do the
Correct.
production, not just Kelly's just doing this
Correct,
by
pardon me
himself.
if I wasn't clear. Yes, he has a theater company, so the other school is paying him through the theater company to put on an all-school play.
Does Kelly feel the need, would he be able to do it by himself, or would he also want to have the services of the theater company?
I'm sure he would utilize those. I just asked him and he said if the board would pay me a stipend that was,
Will it be a stipend, well, I'm asking, are you looking for a stipend or actually perform the contract?
I would just contract out if we couldn't do a stipend. But I think that's what I need the discussion for. It's similar to the yearbook. It's a little
Right,
bit
and
different.
again, I'm gonna say that you need to figure out.
How many hours and,
I
okay.
mean,
Rutland Town does have an amount in the master agreement for drama coach. It's $1,400.
That's a minimum too. The board can elect to pay more.
I know, but we're not gonna make that choice. That's up to the administration. So again, maybe next meeting you can bring that forward.
I guess one thing you want to consider too, when it comes to that, when you figure just how the cost is broken out as far as revenues are broken out from the show, because what was it, $5 or what was the show cost?
Right,
last
so the
time?
show, and we were supposed to have a Friends of Theater start, and the plan was for them to take some of those proceeds to start a theater group that could help pay for some of that, similar to the Friends of Music. And again, when the pandemic happened, that kind of went to a pause. But I know that Kelly's theater company is getting like 25% of the, I don't know what front of house, something like that, for what it costs. So I don't know how that works either. That's a good question.
But again, that's a theater. I see that as two different things. Okay, you've got the school, but then you've got a theater company. We're not hiring the theater company. We're hiring.
Right,
Kelly.
that's what I would like to do, is
So-
to pay Kelly to lead us
Yes,
in an
yeah.
all-school play.
So just, look it up, bring it up next month.
Okay.
I just don't, looking in the past meetings we've had for coaching, well, why does this coach get this coach get this? I don't want to get in that, so that's why I'm saying,
Figure out the hours and, yep, got it,
thank you.
sure.
So he didn't get paid for his last time.
Well, for
And he
the
never told me
Suzico?
that.
No, for.
No, he never got, so they practiced for Lion King up until March, and the play was gonna be in April, and he never got paid.
Was there was there
There was
paperwork on it?
No, I followed up with Lewis, and I read through, one late night, I looked through every board meeting minutes to be like, I swear! And I commented on the play multiple times,
Right.
but there was never a stipend form completed.
Again, I don't know.
And again, Kelly, he never brought it up.
Right.
You know, this was somebody else, and I was like, why didn't you say anything to me?
Exactly. I mean, because that would be like anybody else. Well, I worked and I assumed I was gonna get this. but
Right, he
other
just
people-
kept waiting and waiting, and then when somebody found out he was gonna do a play for another school, he said, well, I never got paid the last time.
Right. I'm sorry, but 2 years ago, it's even worse than last year. I don't mean to sound mean. Does he deserve it? More than likely, but if we pay past bills that we're just finding out about, we're not gonna have the money to do this year's bills.
Was there a signed contract?
No.
We just have, okay.
Okay, moving on to finance.
All right, good evening. So on the agenda for tonight, let's do the credit card limit increase. So I am asking the board, right now we have a $6,000 credit limit. We have 3 cards for Rutland Town. Sarah has one, Eric has one, and I have one. Typically their credit limit is $1,500 each. And then mine, which stays in the safe, because I don't use it very often, if ever, has a $3,000 limit. And then I have the ability to shift limits on an as-needed basis. I could increase, decrease. But over the course of the last few years, we found there's been instances where we have used up all of our limit and could use a higher limit. It could be a time where, like, either Sarah's traveling or Eric's traveling, and maybe we just purchase something before their trip with the credit card, and there's not enough limit. So I'm proposing that we increase the limit from $6,000 to $15,000 for the district.
Boy, that's huge. I'm just saying it's a huge jump.
Yeah.
So, and if we pay them as they submit them, I guess, why, Louis, do you think we need that big an increase? Because as soon as we get the bill submitted, we pay it.
Yes, they're supposed to submit them as soon as they use the credit card. Sometimes that could be a couple days, sometimes it could be a week, depending on if they're on a trip or how vacations fall. But there is timing. So if they submit a bill that was for 4 days ago and they submitted the day after AP was run, it's another 2 weeks to AP is run,
Right.
and then a few days to get the check signed and get them in the mail. So there could be still, even though we're submitting them frequently, we're doing that to try to avoid interest and charges, it could still be a 3-week turnaround depending on when that charge occurred. So based on, I know, I think it was last year when they went to, I think it was Washington, and they needed a credit card, they run out of limit pretty quickly with the size class and schools they are. We don't have to go all the way to 15 if you feel more comfortable with a different number that is still an increase but not quite the 15, then that's fine too. We just think we need more available credit for those times of the year when it's heavily used.
So you have 3,000, Sarah's is 1,500, and what was the other one?
1,500.
Eric is 1,500.
1,500. So what if we just double them all?
Right.
So, I mean, I think the issue is like I took a class and it's already over that. And it's just like what Lewis said. Once AP was done, then it's, you know, Sherry's delayed. She's like, I can't, like, the credit card has to be paid first.
Can
I mean,
this
you all
is
see the
hypothetical.
bills.
No,
Could
no,
we
no,
go to
it's
like
fine.
10, like, even if we like went to like 10 or 12, I mean, I don't care about 15 that person, but, like, is there a reason that you have to have the highest limit considering the fact that you said you rarely use yours? Would it make better
It's
sense?
more of just a placeholder. I like I said, I don't use mine. It's in the safe. I shift it to them whenever they increase. So all they have to do is send me an email, a chat, a phone call, and I can go in, log on, and increase their limit. And I do it many times throughout the year.
Oh, God.
But all administrators start with $1,500, and then we increase them on an as-needed basis.
So if we're doing it that way, why can't we continue that?
Because the 6 is not sufficient.
Yeah.
I mean, if you feel more comfortable with the 12, I'm fine with 12. 10 is even better than 6. I think we need something more.
I'd rather start with 10 and then go higher if we need it later. Because I feel like if you have more space to spend, you tend to spend more. And I think jumping that high might just get us in a dangerous territory.
Well, I mean, they shouldn't be using the credit card without following the same process they do with other purchases, so they should be doing a PO in advance. They should be utilizing the budget line items, so I mean, they shouldn't be spending money that's not there in the budget. But, I mean, if you feel comfortable with 10, I'm fine with that as well.
Is that all three? Ted?
No.
All 3 total.
Total.
10 would be the total.
So maybe 3, 3, and 4, or something like that. Or 3,500, 3,500, and 3.
How much was that one you said was already over 1,500?
That class for CPI in Boston, that was $5,000.
But you knew it was coming, so he could have increased it if you asked.
Yeah, I just know sometimes, I mean, Lewis is great. It's just sometimes, it's like every time we hit it right after bills were paid. And it hasn't gone through yet, so I trust Lewis and the board, whatever you think. I mean, this is not my.
What's your recommendation? You said 15, Louis?
That's what I asked for, yeah.
I'm making a motion to go ahead and allow it to go to 15 because of Lewis's recommendation, so we know who to go after if we have a problem.
I don't foresee this as an issue.
I
Like I think I said, it is tightly, like,
Right,
all
monitored.
purchases are tightly monitored, and so it's not as if Sarah and Eric are off on
Right.
like a spending spree and so it is highly restricted. Lewis, if you work with Lewis, he's
Yeah.
watching every single penny and.
Well, that's why I said if Lewis asked for it, then fine.
Every penny is against.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I don't have to.
That's a
worry.
compliment, Lewis, though. Thank
It
you.
is.
It is.
I did.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Other than that, I mean, there was financials in the packets. If there's any questions on that, I'll take those.
I have a
Is
couple of
what-
questions, Louis.
Okay, we can do those and then we can go into budget quickly.
Okay. On the general fund expenditure report on page 3, we've already paid the recording clerk $3,000 and the budget was for $1,870. Do you know why that happened?
That doesn't seem correct. It may have been a misposting on payroll, for somebody else. It could be the board stipends are going down. I can look into it though and
Okay.
get back to you.
Thank you. And then, I had asked you a couple weeks, maybe last month or the month before, about trash and when we've gone out to bid. And I noticed, I kept looking for it on the GRCSU warrant reports, and I couldn't find it, but it looks like Rutland Town pays their own trash. So is that still a GRCSU contract, or is that through Rutland Town?
Each school is billed individually. We did go out to bid, probably I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago. It was a 3-year contract. That contract has lapsed at this point. But we did go out to bid as an SU. I mean, Casellas is really the only major player in the area. I know when you had asked, I said if there's something you would like us to do, to bring it up at an SU meeting, because it is an SU contract. And if that's something that the board would like me to do, I can do that.
Okay, thank you. I'll talk to Lisa and see if it's something that she would put on the agenda to discuss. And that was all question-wise I had for you. Thank you.
Okay. So on budget, I'll just give you an update, and then if there's any discussion, we can go over that. So I've been working on the first draft. I've completed the salary pieces, which is the main piece. I've sent that off to Sarah. We do have a meeting scheduled with me and Sarah and Chris, and I believe Kelly's attending for the facilities piece, to just go over the needs of the building and staffing needs and review the first draft. So we're working on putting that together, and so we will have a first draft at the next board meeting to review with the board. So at this time, I mean, if there's any discussion that you want to have, I know you discussed with Sarah during the board retreat, her building needs, which I'm sure she'll share with us during our meeting. But if there's anything else you want to share tonight, we can go through that now.
We'll wait for your draft.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Next up, I need a motion on the director's orders.
Make a motion to approve the warrants as presented through email.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of the minutes from 8/8 and 8/23. I found a couple typos on.
Of course you did.
On the August 8th, so I'll give those to Chris. They're just spelling errors and nothing substantial.
Okay, remember, you were my proofreader.
I know, but when I sent you the, I sent you the, what I had corrected, you didn't see it.
Maybe I ignored what you said. What
So
was
in
that?
any case, it's all good. So.
Did you want to make corrections?
Well, Chris had said before, if it's just little typographical, just to give it to him and give it to Christine and she'll fix it.
I did catch one and it was changed, so.
It's not a big deal. And then the meetings from August 23rd.
I know there should be a space in between August and 23rd. I saw that today.
I didn't even notice that one.
Oh, there
got
you
me.
go. I did.
But the more important one
Mhm.
is the regular meeting will be October 12th at 6 p.m., which is a Wednesday, because Monday is Indigenous Peoples' Day, and we had
Oh.
agreed that we wouldn't have the meeting that day.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure that was noted on there.
So it's October 12th, you said?
12. And Louis, on those minutes from August 23rd, it does have our 5 goals that we came up with as a board. So if you wanted to look at that when you're considering the budget draft, that would be great. Do I have a motion for the minutes?
I don't want to make it.
Maybe,
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Tim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chris, we're on to you.
Okay, thanks. So I just have a few items to discuss. A lot will be discussed through Sarah and Eric's report. So I just wanted to say thank you to Sarah, Eric, the front office staff, Kelly, the custodial staff, and teachers, all their hard work over the summer, getting things ready to go. I know that particularly with staffing, it was an interesting summer to say the least. But I just want to thank everyone for their collective efforts in helping out and make sure everything is ready to go. I think when you walk in, I think the signs when things seem pretty seamless and smooth on the surface, it's a job well done. So I just want to say thank you for all your hard work. I also want to thank the staff members who took time out of their summer to work with students. It's something that's been great to know that we're slowly starting to open things back up. And it was good to see the students back in the school again this summer and, as well. Had a great start to the year. I was here first couple days of school. Things look great that, they normally don't, but it was nice just to see, walk around the classrooms, to see the kids back, engaged, smiling. It's been a long time since seeing all the kids' smiling faces, so it's good. I think we're moving on the recovery part of this phase now that we've been talking about for a better part of a year and a half. So just want to say thank you to everyone. There are a couple of things, MAPS tests, which Sarah and Eric I'm sure we'll discuss, but have scheduled for the month of September. So it's just for the fall assessment. So once we have those, we'll start kind of taking a look to see where we're at, and we'll have a report for the board to kind of take a look to see where we're at. So that's really about it. The rest is just more for for your review. The board to graduate. We do have one last thing. Strategic plan. There'll be more information coming out this week. I just finished my first draft of the letter that'll be going out to families and communities. So be on the lookout for that. My goal is to have that out by Friday at the latest. But there will be 3 meeting dates. They will be in person this year. I think they're in October, November, and February. I'm not going to say the exact dates because I don't want to be quoting on that. But we are shifting back to it in person. If there is a need for us to move virtual, we have that capability as well. But all staff, board members, community members, students, some of the older students are invited to participate in this process. So we'll have information about that coming out this week as well. So be on the lookout for that. So if you're interested in participating, just reach out to Sarah or Eric at the front office and let them know, or Christine McGinnis. So thanks.
Now, can I ask Chris Recorder on the portrait?
Yes.
How was your response then? Do you know?
It's been very quiet. So
I will call and put my name on
Yeah.
it. I was hoping you had a huge influx of
Well,
people that
He didn't
wanted
send
to-
that out yet.
I haven't sent out the strategic plan, so
No, I'm just talking about.
So the portrait,
Right.
I have had some response, and I think that the big question is, well, what does this look like? What are we going to do? And I think that's the purpose of the strategic plan, is start to kind of, make this a reality, and as I said in the letter, it's going to be much more than just things we're going to do. It really is going to be more of a systems-based approach, where it really be part of a culture shift in our schools. And I think as we get into this, we're doing a lot of these things already. But I do know that the students had asked for more responsibility. That was kind of the overwhelming favorite, which was interesting. But as someone who's worked in classroom for many years, I think, classroom teachers know that students want structure. They need structure, and I think if they aren't having that, or I do believe our students want to be held to a high set of standards and expectations. And I think when they feel they're not getting it, they're beginning to advocate for themselves. So I was kind of happy with some of the responses we saw from the students, and hopefully we'll have more student input as we fill out this plan and we look at what our schools and RSU will look like over the next 5 years.
Awesome.
Your calendar of events that had our meeting on October 5th instead of the 12th, is that just a typo? Or I wanted to make sure you have it in your calendar.
It's October 12th of
Okay.
all mine, so thank you.
Okay,
So
no
that
problem.
was
Well, at least I was closer. I had the 10th.
Yeah.
yeah, so it was a week before, so that's good. Yeah, so I apologize for that. Yeah, it is the 12th.
Thank you, Chris.
Mhm.
Presidents, or principals report.
President sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had a great in-service on October, what am I saying now? August 30th and 31st. I wanted to put our enrollment numbers here, although I think we have 3 more kids starting this week. So we have, our enrollment continues to grow, which is great. In a minute, I'll have Eric talk a little bit about Ryan's story and No Place for Hate, some anti-bullying, both grassroots and presenters that are going to be here this year, and some things that we're doing. Teacher goals are due September 30th. We have student council elections happening soon. So thanks to Kate Daly, our guidance counselor, who has that up and running. Katie McDougall, our science teacher, is going to help as well this year. 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip. We had a meeting with parents this evening at 5 o'clock. And thank you, board, for approving the trip. I will be going this year.
Yes. Stop. We're going to make a motion to approve it.
Oh.
I will make a motion that we approve the 8th grade school trip to Washington, D.C.
Good.
Of course, always pending.
All students can attend.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So thank you, board members, for approving that trip.
Well, I thought she did, actually. I have you written down as
fundraising.
That was the fundraiser.
So
Yeah.
it's
The whole
separate,
trip,
okay.
right.
Okay. Teresa Sunderland is attending as a teacher. Erin Audette is also attending as a teacher chaperone, and I have another teacher that has tentatively volunteered, but they need to make sure they don't miss their daughter's college graduation.
Well,
So
yeah.
it's pending on that date.
Yeah.
I do have I think you did get my updated principals report. I apologize. Thank you, Eric and Kelly, for printing some. I had cut and pasted some information. Katie McDougall, our 7th and 8th grade science teacher, applied for a grant through Cornell for their Feeder Watch program. So she did receive that grant. So it's basically a winter-long survey of birds that visit feeders, and so she's going to work with her students in that with that grant, and she is going to be asking if there are extra shepherd hooks and bird feeders. So if anybody has extra shepherd hooks or bird feeders that they're willing to donate, please reach out to Katie McDougall.
Has she contacted the Audubon Society? Because they have a group in Rutland.
They do?
Yeah, they do a bird watching thing in West Rutland Marsh once a month or so.
Okay.
And
Do you wanna
they're pretty
just-
active.
Do you want to, do
Yeah.
you mind sharing that with her?
Sure.
That'd be great, thank you. Vins, yeah, Vins is the other one. A hiring update, we are still actively looking to hire paraeducators within the district, so if anybody is interested, please stop on by or apply on School Spring. We're still actively looking for substitutes, both for teachers and staff and nursing substitutes. We only have one school nurse substitute, so if anybody is interested, please contact the school or look on School Spring. Marie Gilman is our director of tapestry, and she is still actively looking to hire staff for our tapestry program. She's reached out to the Boys and Girls Club of Rutland. She's attended numerous hiring fairs. She's reached out to local colleges, and we just, she has reported as of this evening, just doesn't have the staff. And then Eric, if I can hand it to you to talk a little bit about the Ryan Halligan as well as No Place for Hate.
Sure. So we have Ryan's story. So John Halligan coming in November with us. We're also going to have a parent night. It's a presentation I've seen before. I've seen it actually twice. I think Sarah saw it once. And we probably saw it at the same school, ironically. Very powerful. It's about bullying, cyberbullying, and teen prevention, teen suicide prevention. Very powerful speaker. He's been doing it for years upon years upon years. So we have him coming for our middle school, and also we're going to have a parent night. The date's coming out soon. We're working on that right now. And then we have No Place for Hate, which is it's a framework for organizing school-wide initiatives to build school community. Reached out to a principal in the local area, and he's been doing it for 3 or 4 years and had great effects. So it's not top-down, it's not district-wide, it's not administrators saying you should do this, not teachers saying you should do this. It really is students leading the change, leading the charge for bringing school culture up. And he's had great results with it. And we really truly have the infrastructure in the school with the student council, Kate Daly, Teresa Spaka are going to be running this. They're ready to take it on, and we have the infrastructure to make it work. So it really is grassroots for kids leading the charge.
Is that, do you have to pay for the program, or?
It is a free program, and as the principal explained to me, you can do as little or as much as you want to. If you want to do a deep dive, you can really go with it. And it is a free program. That's all materials provided for us, and all we have to do is have the students lead it and guide them through it.
And I also want to ask, I take it SRO DARE program is also involved in this?
Are they involved? Oh, this is a student-led.
No, I know, but I'm just saying as far as all the bullying and the programs, is she involved in any of this?
I haven't spoken to her about the bullying specifically for DARE program. I'm not sure what it covers.
I thought the DARE program was more drugs and.
Right, and
No, it is not.
It's not.
Yeah, I'm not sure what she's doing. She did it because she just finished her training last year, so I'm not sure what grades she's pushing into for DARE. Yeah, but we talked about this at in-service, both of these things for all, but we can talk to her more about.
I mean, she was on, I know that she has been talking with some people with the same, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't know. Just if I could ask a quick question, you had mentioned that Katie McDougall is doing this bird feeder watch, and it says through April. That's about a month too long. You're going to invite the bears. Trust me.
Yeah, Kelly, she talked to you a little bit about the bird feeders because she's bringing them in. She knows we don't want bears here.
No,
We've seen
we
bears
have
like-
enough that are.
We have
in
enough
this
bears.
area.
So she talked about where she's gonna put them right outside her classroom and then bringing them in at night.
Okay, awesome.
Yes,
Awesome.
sorry, and she said she already spoke
Because
to
once
Kelly
they
about
start
that.
coming, trust me.
Right, and we, there are bears.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I can see them on the game.
Yes, we've seen them on the cameras.
Yeah, I know there's a family that is around here, and I know
Yes.
I've got a couple, but yeah.
Yes.
I just, the April kind of, okay, thank you.
Yes, they will be coming in. And then for building matters, I know it was asked for Kelly to join us. He's had a very long day here. So, I don't know, Kelly, if you want to highlight some of the things in my principal's report in regards to building matters, and then any other questions.
Sure, I can do a
Great.
brief overview. So for building
Hang
matters.
on, Kelly, can I just start by saying, we have not been fully staffed as a custodial staff until the second week of August. So just a huge, huge thank you to Kelly as well as to Dave. And thank you to the board for approving the landscaping to have that contracted out, because it was just these two. So I know we were hoping that vacations and stuff could happen, and then we had no one. So just a huge thank you to you and to Dave, and the board as well. Thank you.
So for building matters, if you've driven in here during the day, we've updated the parking lot lines, working with Eric, our SRO officer. We've got a stop now for cars. We've got direction arrows on this side as well. And then just highlighted all the other marks. We increased the size of the busing lanes per recommendation from Jeff. And so then there's even arrows where the middle of the bus can drive down through now. So there's additional space for students to walk in between the buses. Our boilers just passed inspection, so they're good for another 2 years. We have our annual cleaning coming up. Sewer clean out is completed, and they noticed, and on here, one of the trees out in the courtyard is starting to creep its way toward the sewer. So we did get a great bid from a local company here to get all of that cleaned out and all the trees removed. So that's underway as well. Radon testing, we got back to report, and I'm glad to say that our school is in excellent condition there again. Normally you try to get it, they say standards are supposed to be 4 and under. We're at 0.4. So our,
We managed.
it's going well. So fire extinguishers are all up to date. Life safety testing is complete. Our stormwater, we're still waiting on for the next process there. Our annual asbestos training was complete. The water heater project is really something that we're waiting for right now, and it's been back ordered like everything else for our new water heater. So that right now is October 2nd by the time it's coming in. So
I like it, it's under warranty, that's great.
yes, and it was under warranty. We looked at 4 doors to change out so we can keep them fresh without anything in them. And then we looked at getting automatic doors on the front and the gym. So the front was a little more expensive, so I got a quote for at least getting in the gym, so when we have drama, we have sporting events, there can at least be a handicap door that can be opened and people can come through. So. And then we installed the safety bollards down in front of the gym, just to add added safety for our students that sit out there on the sidewalk, just in case of anything, a car just slipping off the brakes and hitting the gas pedal. So those are some of the main building things.
And then you had upcoming dates.
Yeah, I just didn't know if anybody had any other questions for Kelly for any other building.
Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we had the 7th graders participate because we unfortunately can't go to Chinchacook anymore. I've been told that they can't hire staff, they've been unable to secure staffing. I had the most amazing day with them. I attended one day to Lefferts Pond and the Chittenden Dam with students, and what an amazing experience just watching these kids work together, have no technology, be outside. One of my favorite comments was from a young man that said, "Ms. Tetzlaff, can I eat my sandwich and play at the same time?" It's like, oh, yes. And they were just, we were throwing rocks and just being outside. We saw a loon. They did some cave diving, rock climbing. Everybody participated to the best of their ability, and it was an amazing experience. And no, I did not get dumped, Jeff. There was a little bet going there. Who was going to tip Miss Tetzlaff over into the canoe? I brought a change of clothes, extra towel. Yeah, I was dry. But it was an amazing time. Thank you to Mike Rowe, who really organized this, as well as all the teachers worked together for covering classes, while others were chaperoning. Bailey Sanders, 6th grade teacher, she attended. Amanda McIntyre attended. I'm sure I'm missing other people, but the whole middle school helped just to make this trip possible.
So this is pretty much what we did for the 7th and 8th grade last year?
Yeah,
Awesome.
Yep. So this is a 7th grade team building for 2.5 days, and just unbelievable kids. Parents, your kids are amazing. So 8th grade DC meeting happened this evening. Back to school night. I'm excited to welcome all families back in the building this Wednesday at 5:30. So everybody should have gotten information from their teachers. We're not meeting in the gym. The building is open. Visit your child's classroom, visit specials teachers, visit with myself and Eric. We'll all be here, and we can't wait to see everyone. And then the PTO generously donated a really neat assembly slapstick science. It's for K through 8, so that's happening next week. And that's it. MAP testing is coming. We're always testing kids, so I didn't highlight that. Yeah, MAP testing has already started, so we want to see where kids are at, what do they need, and we're off and running.
Have you heard about anyone with PTO?
No, I actually just asked a parent here because I don't know who to reach out to, and I've asked a few people. I don't have a contact for the PTO. Because they used to come, I wanted to offer a table or some information about the PTO. So I'm not sure who I should encourage. We have had parents register, not just kindergarten, preschool, but other new families, and they've asked, and I've just given them the PTO email. I don't have a person to send them to.
And you don't know who's reading the PTO emails? I still have access to the PTO emails. I'm still actively responding to any emails that come into that email address.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
But I am not the president, and I resigned at the end of the year last year. And it was a crazy couple of years with the pandemic, and we are struggling, as everyone, we're struggling to get volunteers and to get help. So we want to be able to provide really awesome experiences for our students, but we can't do it with 1, 2, 3, or even 4 people. So we're trying to do what we can do, but I urge you, if you are interested in anything in regards to the parent-teacher organization, please reach out, and we would be more than happy to have you. So we are still planning a book fair in the fall. That's good to go. We have that assembly coming in 2 weeks. We're super looking forward to that, but we will need help if we want to be able to do any more events and fundraising for this year.
And it is a parent-teacher organization.
Correct, yes. And it doesn't necessarily have to just be a parent. I mean, there have been years when we've had grandparents or aunts or uncles of students in the school, or caregivers who have reached out to volunteer, whether it be being on the board and running meetings, or whether it be I'm really passionate about the book fair. Like, I want to chair that. Like, I want to be in charge of that. or supermarket bingo, which maybe one day it'll be back.
That's my favorite.
As you know.
So things like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a full-time engagement or a drain on your time. It can be if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be. We are grateful for any help and any volunteer efforts that people can put forth, because we've been able to provide some really, really awesome things over the years for our kids, and we want to be able to continue that for however long we can. So,
Well, thank you for all the time that you have put in.
Yes, thank you.
welcome.
It truly is an amazing amount of time. I mean, you put it quite a bit of time, so thank you. Thank you so much.
Next up, resignations. We have William Ray, who resigned August 22nd.
Make a motion to accept the resignation, William Ray.
Thank you, Lynette. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then contract recommendations. Sorry, my fingers are sticking together. Just a horizontal movement for Lorraine Cornell. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Tim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And vacancies are in your packets, just for your information. I did want to note that it does look like we're looking for a long-term sub in phys ed for the grades 5 through 8. It says beginning 11-14. Do you know how long that is for? Or
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, we expect maybe end of January, but we don't know yet.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so that brings us to the chair's report. So in your packets, I did include all the minutes from the GRCSU meeting. Were there any questions on that?
No, I thought it was good.
So I just wanted to give a little update on the executive committee. We met September 6th. We completed Chris's evaluation, which will be shared with him by the end of the month.
Mr. One, okay, he's here.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. No.
We also discussed that midterm reports will be sent out, or links of some sort will be sent out to parents this year, so that once every quarter, and then at the end of the quarter, it'll be a little easier to access jump rope, and parents will know that the grades are updated at that point in time, so that there's not this question as to, no, my teacher didn't update it yet, that's why my grade is like that, or those type of things. So now we're gonna have 8 little data, dates that parents will be able to access that information and know it's real time. We also approved a retainer fee for Rob Evans to help develop school safety procedures with the SU. So that includes Rutland Town. Did you want to mention anything about that, Chris?
Yeah, so we just signed off on the contract today. So basically, it's a Margolis Haley, which is a nationally recognized school security firm. They do a lot of work with schools. We contracted with them last year with Corey Valley. Rob is the Vermont School Safety Liaison, for the state. So Rob is present. He's there, so he'll be our direct contact with Margolis. But it will be through with all schools. I think it will help us with their, reviewing plans. If there's suggestions, working with, local police departments or local fire departments. Just helping do everything, as well as tabletop exercises, which we think are really important because last year we were able to do a couple of those, which we were able to bring all of. We had the local police department there. We had the first responders, and we went through different scenarios and we worked through just different plans. And it was the first time that we were able to get everyone together. So it was a good thing. We really just make sure that, safety is paramount to what we do, and just that when students and when our staff walk in the building, that they have the peace of mind knowing that we are doing everything we can to keep everyone safe. And it's just another layer that'll assist us in doing that. So.
Thanks. And lastly, we also revised the SU bylaws, which will be presented to the full SU board at the end of the month.
We're gonna get that on form to review before the meeting, right?
It should be in the packet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So, and then the other thing that I had added under the chair's report was to discuss the mini grant that the VSBA is offering. There's $5,000 grants, I believe, that are meant for school boards with, for their school programs to help promote more equitable and inclusive education communities by leaders and contributors committed to those changes. So applications are due in October, so I just wanted to discuss if you all had had a chance to read it, if it was something that any of you were interested in looking to see if it's worthwhile filling out the application.
It sounds wonderful. I read it. I don't think Rutland Town is in great need of it. I was wondering if because there's only 5 statewide, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there was anybody in our union, any schools that you know of that are going for it?
No, I mean, there is active work being done. I know that when we initially discussed this, one of the areas thought were just, we could create an additional potential resource for Sarah and Eric and the staff to use as they, look at, some of the, particularly around middle school, around bullying or, creating more of an inclusive environment around school culture, that these funds can be used for that. So that was kind of the discussion, bringing it to this board here. 5,000 is not a lot across the SU. If you're looking at more of a school base, you can do more with 5,000 as opposed to across districts. So that was why we looked at bringing it here to see if this is something which we could work on and maybe look to fold into some of the things that Sarah and Eric and staff are currently doing, and or if there's an additional need for more resource, more funding to provide something which they can't do.
Like I said, I think we're pretty much on top. I'm not saying that don't go for it, but I'm just thinking if we go for it, because there's only 5 statewide, that perhaps there may be someone from one of the other schools that also want to go, even maybe Lisa Madison wants to get involved in it.
Well,
so
Lisa,
it's something
yeah.
we can share.
So I've had
throughout
discussions
the
with
union.
Lisa, and she's interested on many levels.
Right.
If there's money available, and Lisa has a lot of ideas how to spend the money and what we can do with that. So
Right.
it just depends on how we want to. I mean, it goes back to 5,000 across an SU or district. It's that mile wide, inch deep, or we go inch deep.
Right, but I'm just thinking, it's like when you go to take a training.
Right.
You get trained, you come back, you train the others. So I wanted to just make sure that, or see if it's something that if Rutland Town takes on, that's fine, but that it's gonna go supervisory union-wide
Sure.
also.
Yep.
Because with only 5 in the district,
Well,
you know.
right, or the state,
Well, the
right.
state, right.
Yep.
Well, the state selects it, right?
No, I
Out
know
of the
that, but,
applications.
Right.
yeah. But I just wanted to say Proctor was gonna go for it. So, we don't wanna fight ourselves.
Well, but I look at it in terms of not fight ourselves, but I think if the schools and boards feel there's a need for that, I would encourage all schools and boards to apply for that, just to acquiesce and say, well, there's a better need for you, because there's a good chance that, we may have 2 applications, 2 get approved, or we may have 2 and,
Yeah, I mean,
none of them
Proctor
get
could
approved, so.
apply it as well, and we both could be 2 of the 5. So I guess what I would be interested, if no one else was interested in doing it, I would be happy to maybe sit down with Eric or Sarah and see if there would be, something that, a program or something that we could look, to kind of just loosely kind of say, this is what we'd like to do if we have the money, kind of thing, and fill it out, and just, it's not that long of a
No, it didn't look like it.
Grant,
But is that something that you can use as towards whatever you're working on? Is there a need?
I'd have to look,
I'd have to
yeah.
look at what it
I
is
could-
because
We can
discuss
always
it.
spend money.
Yeah.
Well, I
So-
know that, but we have to spend the money on
No,
what
I'm
we're
just
getting the
kidding.
grant for.
I'm just kidding. I need to know, I just heard
More
the one
information.
sentence. I would like more information, and I'm sure,
So I would,
If
if,
you guys-
if the board approves,
Yep.
then I would be happy to.
I'll make a
do
motion
that.
that you speak with them and see if it's, you know, something we really then to go after it. Fine.
So is that your motion?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you. So we can set up a meeting.
yeah.
So that brings us to policies. Is
Yeah, I have a
everyone all
few.
right, or do you need a break?
No,
For a few
it's fine.
minutes? Okay. So I'd like to kind of clump the second reads together, if that's okay, and just ask for comments on them.
Anything?
No.
I feel-
Yeah, Kelly.
Sorry to interrupt. It's just-
If you would like to stay, you're welcome to stay, but if you would like to go, I think we're.
It is kind of.
Nobody
Thank
has
you.
anything else for
Thank
Kelly?
you for all your help.
I was just gonna say, Lewis has got his hand raised.
Oh,
He probably
yes,
can go home
Lewis?
too.
I just have, I have the answers to the question that you had asked, about the treasurer, or about the recording clerk.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you.
So it looks like the annual amount that we paid to the Rutland Town Treasurer / Town Clerk was posted to that line, so I'll just have it reclassed. It's budgeted under a separate line.
And was that paid during this, wasn't that paid before June 30th?
It was $3,000 that was paid for this school year.
It's not for last school year, it was for this school year already? I thought
We
said
paid,
that.
we paid $3,000 a year.
Okay. Thank you.
Tina, is there a need for Lewis to stay, or can he log off?
No, I think we're good there too.
Lewis, do you want to stay, or?
No, good night.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you, Lewis.
Thank you.
Surprised they just did, but.
So Eric had asked if there were small little grammatical changes or things like that to contact him directly, right?
Correct.
So on the second reads, on F25, I will let him know that there was a period placed on step 2 at the bottom of the page, and it really should have been connected with the second page. I just think it was put in there accidentally, so it just split up a sentence. So I'll let him know that. And then on G6, I feel like, and I think I may have mentioned this before, but he may not have gotten the information, that 4 and 5, they should be switched. Because number 5 states that there will be a standard printed form which must be completed and returned before consideration or the complaint. And number 4 is upon receipt of the completed abduction form. So to me, the timing doesn't make sense. The receipt should have been after the complainant receives it.
And then send that to Eric.
So I'll send that to Eric unless anybody else had anything else to add.
We meet Wednesday.
Okay. Do you want, can I just give it to you?
Huh?
Are you going to be there?
Yep.
So can I give you, I just,
Sure.
okay.
Yep.
So then that brings us to first read, which is board goal setting and evaluation on B2. And anyone have any comments on that? I did not either. Then D1, personnel recruitment, selection, appointment, and background checks. I had 2 comments on this one. On page 2, under selection, the cost, the 4th one from the bottom, the cost of such checks will be borne by the prospective employee, the school district. To me, those are, I think that they were supposed to pick one, and they put both in. Because it's,
What did you say that was?
under selection number 1,
Yeah, oh, okay.
the 4th from the
Okay.
bottom, yeah. So I'm not sure which is the answer, and I was wondering if Chris, do you know? If,
Which one?
or
I'm
Sarah,
trying
do you
to
know
figure it out
if
here.
the employee or the school district pays for their background checks?
It depends.
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it does depend, I think, on the employee and the position.
The employee pays
Yeah.
for their own.
No, it depends on, right.
The position, that, you know, so, yes,
Some get paid, some don't.
correct. And I can confirm that and get back to you if you want.
Okay,
with
because
that.
I think that it's not clear in this policy who pays for it.
I think it'd be too cumbersome to put in, okay, a K through 8 teacher would be reimbursed, or a volunteer, or, you know what I mean? It depends on what position they're filling and doing the background for. Some get it paid for, some do not. So it depends on the position.
So I just think it should be clarified maybe so that it's more clear, because it doesn't say will be paid by the prospective employee or the school district, depending on
Maybe the
position,
word
or something like that. And it shouldn't be in parentheses.
So Jeff, you make a note of that, you bring that to the committee.
I can give you this, so you can. And then on the third page, under appointment number 2, it says, subject to any pre-employment screening processes approved by the board, the superintendent shall appoint all non-licensed employees to be employed by the school district or supervisory union. And that's not how it works currently, is that correct? Because, for instance, a custodian is non-licensed, so they still come to the board for approval. Whereas this is stating that you are the one responsible and that the board isn't.
Well, so technically, the board really doesn't, only hires one person. I mean, so really it's the superintendent, so so that's kind of how, so in theory, this policy is correct, so it's one where I basically make a recommendation, so these approvals they've gone through me, and I said, this is my recommendation, the board just approves my recommendation as superintendent for hiring, so the board, a lot of times it should be a formality, so the board doesn't really hire anyone, the board approves my
Right.
recommendation for hiring.
We don't, actually, the state does not allow us to do the hiring.
You hire
So
one person as the
They're
superintendent.
gracious in order to let us participate in it, but they don't even have to do
In
that.
number 1, that is kind of how it goes, but that's just for licensed candidates.
Mhm.
For non-licensed, they don't really even need to be approved by the board, is what
Right.
this is saying. So I just wanted to make a note of that we don't need to.
By law, we don't.
By law, we don't.
But
So
we do.
by choice, we could, but by law, we don't have to. So in the future, Chris, in the summertime when we're not meeting, you don't have to get our okay, that it's okay. If-
That was just something that the boards had asked me to do,
Right.
just to keep them moved in, just until we got through the official approval, so.
Okay.
Which, you're right, which,
We don't have to give official approval for those positions.
correct, I think that's something we could talk about maybe in the, the executive committee and the GRCSU board.
Or do we want to, and then our policy should reflect that.
Well, the thing is, it's up to, Chris is very cool with it. Some superintendents are not. So
So
some
what do
just,
we want?
well, I'm just saying, I don't think we want to change the law. By changing this, you're actually asking to change the law. By state statute, superintendent does all the hiring, period. Doesn't even have to come, we have to sign contracts. But the hiring process itself has nothing to do with boards. It's all up to Chris, whereas they've always included us and peers of those people, so that it just goes
Well,
smoothly.
do we want to, because this is a policy, this isn't
Right.
a law, right?
Well, it's
This is
usually
like the
policy
policy
that
that
should
we're following.
reflect.
It's
law, yeah.
reflecting.
Right, the law, so you don't want to change it. But, so that's where past practice will come in or whatever. We've had superintendents that would not let us touch it, we've had others that don't want anything to do with it, you just take care of it. So it's always by the grace of the superintendent that we're included.
And I do believe that was one of the reasons, and this is done prior to me, because having board members sit on interviews was to just move it along a little bit quicker
Right.
as well, so.
Thanks. I'll do that. That was, page 2. And then in F2, the search and seizure of students by school personnel. The under searches of students' persons, there should be an apostrophe. And at the end, it says copies of this policy will be included in the student handbook, but it already said that under searches of school property on page 1, so I think it could be removed.
Oh, yeah.
It just repeats itself, it's not necessary.
So take out the first one, keep the second one.
I would.
Keep the second one, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, the first one says more than that. The copies of this policy will be distributed to students when they enroll in school and will be included in the student handbook given to students and parents at the beginning of each school year. So
I would
that's,
like to-
Well, I think
Yeah, I'd
actually
like-
this is around, yeah, so I think we can, if you want, we can recommend taking that statement, and putting that at the end, and just,
Right.
okay.
if you
I
like
like
that one.
the,
Yeah.
the more inclusive
So
one.
move to end.
Okay.
And then we'll put the other one.
And there's one other little typo. It should be searches and seizures instead of searched and seizures. So I added that to you. F10 and G1 and G3 and G4, I did not have any comments, or G5. Or G11. Anyone else have anything to add? On G13, it was just a little typo. It said, it should say the superintendent or designee instead of of.
I have one letter in this.
Yeah. And then on the last final policy, community use of school facilities, H2. On page 2, there was just some formatting errors. There should be a return after district and before B, and then again after public and before F. And that was all I had on that one.
So you need a motion to approve the F-17, F-19, F-20, 25, G6, and H3, correct?
Correct.
So moved.
Thank you, Lynette. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright. So under upcoming meetings and future agenda items, we already discussed that the next meeting will be Wednesday, October 12th at 6 p.m. in the library.
I agree, in the library.
And then I just wanted to bring up the discussion if we wanted to try to set a date for.
I think it's great, usually we go through the Teachers Association first before it comes to us, because it's hard, because if we pick a date and they can't do it, and they pick a date and we can't do it, it's better just to pick a date with you.
I think that's fine. I mean, it's not, I mean, it's the GR, it's the whole GR, but it would be just Rutland Town
Right.
teachers kind of going through there. I can bring it up, our executive committee meeting is like the 27th, I think, of September, and I can mention it, and see if they can have some dates. And I know that, what is it, the 12th is what you guys said for?
Meeting, our regular meeting.
Is the next one, it's just 1 month, right?
Right.
So maybe in November, maybe we can shoot for. And I can ask Sarah for the
Yeah.
date for November, and then we can just bring it up, and then I'll get back to you. or-
Ideally, it would be great to have it before the November meeting, so if there's anything that we need to think about for budgeting or things like that, it would be
Okay.
much more helpful to have it before November than
So,
after
Tina,
November.
the only concern is technically the chain of command is those should go through Sarah, not directly to the board. So so I think when we look at this, you know, the conversation with teachers, I think it's great to input, but if there are items around staffing, resources, that should really be a discussion that Sarah and Eric have with the staff, absent of the board.
Which is important for budget
Correct, so you-
consideration
right, so
too,
you-
so that's why
But I think that's
Thank
something
you
which
for
Sarah and
pointing that
Eric
out,
should have
yeah.
that conversation, and Sarah and Eric, myself, I could bring that back to the board, after meeting with the teachers, but just have the board directly would be circumventing the chain of command.
I mean, it's been 3 years and we really haven't been able to really get together and meet, so there's some, teachers that have been here a while.
And were you thinking of like having something there, like if it would be before a board meeting, so are you thinking of like little reserves or like food at all? Or is it just like a come in here to the library? Have you guys thought about anything like that? It's been done so many different ways.
Exactly.
Right, Lynn? So I just am trying to get an idea, so when I go to the executive committee, say like, this is what we're looking for, and if we're looking for something that's food, like this, this is our money in our budget as association that we can put forward.
Right, usually what happens is when we have these meetings, typically we'll take turns, we'll have a small, it's almost like a dinner, because the hors d'oeuvres are, and we'll take turns paying for it, or if you want to check to see if you want us to split the cost in half. And then, I don't even remember who we hired last time to cater it, they brought it in.
I don't remember either.
I haven't,
But,
it's been
but we
years.
could figure something out, whether it's Gills or somebody to and set it up. It doesn't have to be elaborate. But typically, we split the cost in half and go from there.
Okay.
I think we're open, I guess maybe it would be a discussion, what you're looking for too. And then we could discuss it at our October meeting and set the date, for sure.
Yeah.
You can let me know when I go share it
Right,
with
so
you.
I'll bring it up to the executive committee meeting, which is the whole GRCEA.
Oh,
Sorry. And then we'll have a building meeting after that, so I could, bring it up at that building meeting as well, which should happen before your October
October
12th meeting.
Okay.
And then I'll relay it to, I'll touch base with Sarah and then you
Great.
two, Tina and Kristen.
Yeah, so we'll set that for sure at the next meeting. then.
Yeah, perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to good and welfare. Billy, I know you like to share this.
I'm just so happy that school's back in session. Like, my kids are happy and teachers are excellent, and I think it's been a good start to the school year.
I hope you all feel better.
Thank you. Even given those circumstances, I think it's been a good start to the school year.
I'm very thankful that Teresa and Peter came today, and I really feel a lot more confident in what we're doing here. So thank you, and I think the public will too.
One of the best discussions I've heard
Oh.
throughout the year, so it's wonderful.
Well, I'm not afraid to change, but I want to go in the right direction and consider all the options and, yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Chris did pop into Mrs. Sunderland's Spanish class, and he did speak a little bit of Spanish with our kindergarten kids too.
I was the next was we start swearing at him. I didn't want to go that way.
When we walked out, Chris was like, because Teresa's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you can Spanish. And when we walked out, he said, that's all I got.
He did pick that.
I didn't choose my audience. Right?
Exactly.
I don't walk in the
You
high
go
school
for the 8th grade.
classroom.
Yeah.
Great, but they were so excited. I mean, that was day one, and they were so excited to speak Spanish to the superintendent.
Awesome.
So that's pretty telling. Yeah. Mhm.
I probably should have done this before. That's okay, I'll have a separate conversation.
You can't do that, Lynette.
Is this good welfare?
Well, no.
Okay.
Well, yes and no. I don't know. I brought it up at our meeting, but we really didn't do anything with it, but I'll bring it to the board chair.
I
It's
just want
not
to
a big deal.
thank Jeff and your wife especially for the phone calls that I made this summer asking about busing and routes, and you were like Johnny on the spot over and over and over again. And like Tim, when he came in for all the interviews, it was just, hey Jeff, are you available? Sure, go ahead. I'm in church, but don't worry about it. I'll appreciate it. Be quiet. When we walk out, it was thank you very much for stepping out at a moment's notice, just like Tim did over the summer.
Well, I was just gonna mention the fact that, the busing this year has been very, very tricky. with the amount of new kids. Every time we get new kids in here,
Yep.
you know, you can't all forget that we may need to look at another bus with the amount of kids that are on some of these buses. I mean, we keep adding all of these students, which is great, but the buses are kind of busting at the seams.
I was gonna say, depending on where the
They-
people are
they are
located.
busting
Yeah,
at the seams.
and,
Literally.
you know, and there's been tremendous amount of, work this year to get things updated and get everything, put out so that everybody has the correct information and everything, and Eric's been doing a great job with all that, putting all that together with Pam in the office, and, you know, and kudos to him for dealing with all of this.
Construction.
Well, Sarah's done it for years. and
Done it for years.
But, yeah, it's not an easy job.
It's just getting more and more difficult because of the, you know,
Number of
the
kids and the
requests that
construction.
we get and all that kind of thing too is so much different than in the past, you know, so.
As we look at budget, we may look at additional transportation costs, so that's something to
And
put
that,
on there.
thank you, Tim, has been huge for hiring. There was a lot of work going into hiring Tina. I know you've done that for years. There was
Thank you
some-
for taking over.
Not your coverage, no.
Interesting interviews that you missed out on.
Stories.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid, I know that, and people need to be patient. We're still starting brand new with letting the kids off, and things aren't quite as smooth as some people think they should be. But when you have problems, of course, with specific people, make sure you keep letting us know, and we're taking care of them.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm coaching 3rd and 4th grade flag football for Rutland Town, which
Nice.
is
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you for
So,
doing that.
got 12 boys out there, and I think the
No girls,
3rd and
huh?
4th grade soccer has 23 or more for the boys. They play at a different time than the girls out there, so I can't speak to them, but a lot of energy, but good behavior.
Good.
Oh, that's awesome, that's the most important
Yeah.
thing. Yep.
Good behavior out there, so nice
It's
job.
important.
Chris, do we need an executive session tonight? Guess what time it is? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Stop all night,
Jeff loves
waiting
it.
for you to make a motion.
That,
That's your favorite.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.